Returning to Boston felt like a plunge into cold, murky water. The city was cloaked in the gray of early winter, matching the heaviness in my heart. I had not been back here in years, and now, it was under the shadow of my father's death. The funeral was held at a small, traditional church, a place that had witnessed many family events over the years. The pews were filled with familiar faces, some I hadn't seen in decades, all gathered to pay their respects. I found myself drifting among them, a ghost in my own life, trying to process the enormity of my father's absence, while grappling with the strained relationships that had defined my family. As the service ended and people began to disperse, Evelyn, my stepmother, approached me. Her presence was a stark contrast to the solemnity of the occasion, cold and unyielding. "James," she said, her voice clipped. "We need to talk." I looked at her, noting the tight set of her mouth and the lack of warmth in her eyes. "Is it about the arrangements?" "No," she replied, her gaze piercing through me. "It's about you. You were barely around these last few years. Did you really think you could just waltz in here and be part of this family again?" Her words were sharp, and they cut deeper than I anticipated. "I came as soon as I could," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm grieving too, Evelyn." "Grieving?" Evelyn's voice rose slightly. "Is that what you call it? You didn't even know him in the end. Don't act like you have a claim to this family now." Her accusation stung, and I could feel the eyes of distant relatives watching us, sensing the tension. I took a deep breath. "I'm sorry if my absence hurt you, but I have a right to be here, just like everyone else." Evelyn's face hardened. "Rights are earned, not given. And you haven't earned anything with your neglect." I could feel the lump in my throat growing. "I'm not here to argue. I came to say goodbye to my father." Evelyn's eyes softened just a fraction, but she said nothing more. I turned away, feeling the weight of her disdain as I walked out of the church, trying to compose myself. Outside, the cold air was a welcome relief from the suffocating atmosphere inside. I leaned against the old stone wall, closing my eyes and trying to center myself. The sense of loss was overwhelming, but Evelyn's words had added a layer of bitterness that made it harder to cope. As I stood there, I was joined by Father Collins, a family friend, and the parish priest who had known me since childhood. He placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "James," he said softly, "I'm sorry for your loss. I saw the exchange with Evelyn. She's been struggling with the pressure of managing everything." I nodded, appreciating his attempt to ease my burden. "I understand she's going through a lot, but her attitude makes it hard to find any solace here." Father Collins offered a sympathetic smile. "Grief can make people act in ways they wouldn't normally. Don't let her bitterness become your own." I sighed, feeling the enormity of the day weighing down on me. I wish it were that simple. There's so much more going on that I don't understand. Father Collins looked thoughtful. "If you need to talk or if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Sometimes the answers we seek are hidden in the most unexpected places." As we parted ways, I felt a flicker of hope that perhaps there were still some allies in this turbulent sea of family tensions. The funeral had been a harsh reminder of the fractures in my life, but it was also the beginning of a journey I had to navigate alone, or so it seemed. The funeral was over, and the house that had once been filled with the noise of family gatherings now felt eerily quiet. I was alone in my father's study, a room I hadn't set foot in since my teenage years. It was a place of order and methodical clutter. Bookshelves crammed with old volumes, a large oak desk covered in neatly stacked papers, and a high-backed chair that had seen countless hours of contemplation. I moved about the room, trying to gather my thoughts, when my eye caught a small, inconspicuous envelope wedged between the desk and the wall. The envelope was yellowed with age and bore my father's handwriting. My heart skipped a beat as I reached for it, hoping it might contain some final words of comfort or wisdom from him. I sat down at the desk, carefully prying open the envelope. Inside there was a single sheet of paper and a small brass key. My hands trembled slightly as I unfolded the letter. "Dear James, If you are reading this, it means I am no longer here to guide you. I hope you can find it in yourself to forgive me for the distance that has grown between us over the years. There are matters that need your attention. Evelyn and Margaret are planning to transfer control of the family business in a manner that is not entirely above board. They are entangled in serious financial difficulties, and their actions could have far-reaching consequences. I've included a key that will help you uncover the truth. Please be cautious. Trust no one blindly, and seek the help of those who can be trusted. Yours always, Dad. The letter left me stunned. My father's last message was not one of reconciliation, but of warning. I looked at the key, wondering what it might unlock and what other secrets it might reveal. As I sat there, grappling with the letter's contents, the study door creaked open, and Evelyn walked in. Her demeanor was calm, but there was an underlying tension in her posture. "Still poking around?" she asked, her tone sharp. I quickly stuffed the letter back into the envelope and looked up at her, just trying to get some closure. "I found this letter." Evelyn's eyes narrowed as she stepped closer. "A letter? What's it about?" "Something about the family business," I said, keeping my voice steady. "It seems there are issues I wasn't aware of." Evelyn's face shifted from curiosity to a guarded expression. "I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. We've had everything under control." "Is that so?" I asked, my tone skeptical, "because it sounds like there's more going on than you've let on." Her gaze hardened. "This is not the time or place for accusations, James. You're still grieving. Let us handle the business." I could see the tightness in her jaw, and I felt a pang of doubt. "I'm just trying to understand. It's not like I've been here to oversee things." Evelyn's expression softened momentarily, but she quickly masked it with a cold smile. "Well, if you need anything, you know where to find me. But please, don't go looking for trouble where there isn't any." As she left the room, I felt a rising sense of unease. The letter hinted at deeper issues, and Evelyn's reaction only made me more determined to uncover the truth. I sat back in the desk chair, staring at the key. There was something here, something that needed to be unearthed. I resolved to dig deeper, even if it meant confronting more than just family secrets. The days following the funeral were a blur of paperwork and legal formalities. My father's death had set off a series of events that were far more complicated than I had anticipated. The letter and key were my only clues, but they offered little direction. I needed to find out more, so I started by examining my father's financial documents and records, hoping to understand the gravity of the situation. The study became my sanctuary and my prison. I spent hours sifting through old ledgers, bank statements, and correspondence. The more I delved into the files, the clearer it became that Evelyn and Margaret were orchestrating the significant financial maneuver. There were suspicious transactions, unexplained transfers, and large sums of money being moved to unknown accounts. It all pointed to something serious, money laundering, perhaps, or embezzlement. One evening, as I was poring over a particularly perplexing set of documents, Clara entered the room. Her expression was a mixture of worry and frustration. "James, we need to talk," Clara said, closing the door behind her. I looked up, trying to hide my fatigue. "About what?" "I've been hearing whispers about what's going on with the family business," Clara began, her voice trembling. "And it's not good. I know you're trying to handle this, but we're struggling financially. We're barely making ends meet. And now this." I set the documents aside, feeling the weight of her words. "I know. I found evidence of some serious financial issues. Evelyn and Margaret are involved in something that could ruin us if it's not stopped." Clara's face paled. "I didn't want to worry you, but I've been involved in this too. I thought I could help keep things under control, but it's gotten out of hand. I didn't know it was this bad." My heart sank. "You were involved? How?" I was working with them to manipulate some of the accounts," Clara confessed, tears welling up in her eyes. "I thought I could fix things, but it just made everything worse." "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "We're supposed to be partners in this. I didn't want to drag you into it," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought I could handle it on my own, but it's all unraveling. I'm scared, James. I don't know what to do." Her admission was a blow I wasn't prepared for. I felt a mix of betrayal and sympathy. "We need to come clean, Clara. We have to fix this before it's too late." Clara nodded, her face filled with a resigned determination. "I'll help you. I want to make things right." Later that night, as Clara and I tried to formulate a plan, Father Collins called me. His voice was calm but urgent. "James, I heard about the troubles with the family business," Father Collins said. "I want to help. I have some experience with financial matters and connections that could be useful." "Thank you, Father Collins," I replied. "I found some evidence of financial misconduct. I'm trying to piece together what's really going on." "I can meet with you tomorrow to go over what you found," he offered. Sometimes an outside perspective can make all the difference. The next day, Father Collins arrived at the house. He spent hours going through the documents with me, his brow furrowed in concentration. "From what I see here, it's clear that Evelyn and Margaret are engaged in more than just routine business transactions," Father Collins said, his voice grave. "This could be a serious case of financial fraud. We'll need to get the authorities involved." I sighed, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. "I know, but I'm worried about the impact on Clara. She's already struggling with her own role in this mess." Father Collins placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Sometimes the truth is painful, but it's the only way to move forward. I'll help you make sure everything is handled properly." As I watched Father Collins leave, I felt a mix of dread and relief. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but at least I wasn't facing them alone. The stakes were high, and the consequences of failure were enormous. But with Clara's help and Father Collins' support, I had to believe that we could find a way out of this mess. The days following our decision to go public with the financial irregularities were tense and fraught with uncertainty. Father Collins and Detective Martinez had become crucial allies in our quest for justice. Their expertise and dedication gave me hope, but the weight of the investigation felt like a heavy burden on my shoulders. Detective Martinez, a seasoned investigator with a no-nonsense attitude, met with us at the office to review the evidence we had uncovered. He was tall, with a stern face that softened when he spoke to us. "James, Father Collins," Detective Martinez said, taking a seat at the conference table. "I've gone through the documents you provided. There's enough here to warrant a full investigation." I nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Thank you, Detective. What's the next step?" "We'll need to gather more concrete evidence," Martinez explained. "We'll start with surveillance and interviews. Evelyn and Margaret will be key targets. Do you have any idea where they might be hiding or any contacts we should know about?" I glanced at Father Collins, who nodded encouragingly. "Evelyn has been spending a lot of time at the company headquarters. Margaret's whereabouts are less clear, but she frequents a private club downtown." Detective Martinez made notes. "We'll start there. I'll keep you updated on our progress." With Detective Martinez on the case, I turned my focus to confronting Evelyn. I knew it was going to be a difficult conversation, but I needed to address the situation head-on. That afternoon, I drove to the company headquarters, where Evelyn was known to spend most of her time. Evelyn's office was opulent, filled with expensive artwork and dark mahogany furniture. She was at her desk, reviewing papers, when I walked in. Her face was a mask of composed irritation. "What are you doing here, James?" Evelyn asked, her voice cold. "I thought you had settled your affairs and left." "I'm here to discuss the company and the financial issues I've uncovered," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We need to talk about what's going on." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "What are you insinuating?" "I've seen the transactions and the irregularities," I said, placing a stack of documents on her desk. "It's clear there's something wrong. I need answers." Evelyn's face turned pale as she glanced through the papers. You're out of your depth, James. You don't understand the complexities of running a business. I understand enough to know when something is seriously wrong, I said, feeling the frustration rise. And I'm not going to let this go until I get the truth. Before Evelyn could respond, her phone rang. She answered curtly and ended the call with a look of panic. I'm afraid this isn't the time for this discussion. We have a meeting soon. As she tried to dismiss me, Father Collins arrived at the office, looking concerned. He approached us with a calm demeanor. James, Evelyn, Father Collins said. I hope I'm not interrupting. I was just about to review some of the company's records with James. Evelyn's composure faltered slightly, but she quickly regained her control. Father Collins, how can I help you? We're here to get to the bottom of these financial issues, Father Collins said. It's in everyone's best interest to clear this up as soon as possible. Evelyn's eyes flickered with a mixture of anger and fear. You're both making a big mistake. I suggest you leave before this gets out of hand. With that, Evelyn dismissed us, her face a mask of forced calm. Father Collins and I exchanged worried glances as we left her office. As we walked to the car, I couldn't shake the feeling that Evelyn was hiding something more sinister. Father Collins, do you think she's going to try to cover her tracks? I'm afraid so, Father Collins said. We'll need to be vigilant. The more we press, the more desperate she might become. Just as we were about to drive away, Clara called. Her voice was frantic. James, I've got something to tell you. I've been receiving threats. They're trying to intimidate me into staying quiet. Stay safe, Clara, I said, my heart racing. We'll get through this. I'm meeting with Detective Martinez soon. I'll update you. As I hung up, the reality of the situation settled in. Evelyn and Margaret were not just financially corrupt. They were willing to resort to intimidation and threats to protect their scheme. The stakes were higher than ever, and the path to justice seemed more precarious with each passing day. But with Father Collins and Detective Martinez by my side, I had to hold on to the hope that we could unravel the conspiracy and set things right. The days following the arrest of Evelyn and Margaret were a whirlwind of activity. The once bustling company headquarters now stood eerily silent as investigators combed through every corner of the building. The media attention was relentless, and the weight of the scandal seemed to hang heavy in the air. Clara and I had spent countless hours working with the authorities and dealing with the fallout from the revelations. Despite the chaos, there was a sense of relief knowing that justice was being served. Evelyn and Margaret had been charged with multiple counts of financial fraud and conspiracy, and their scheme was finally exposed. However, the emotional toll on Clara and me was undeniable. One afternoon, Father Collins and I sat in his modest office. The room was filled with the soft glow of afternoon light filtering through the blinds, offering a brief respite from the turmoil. James, I'm glad we were able to see this through, Father Collins said, his voice steady and comforting. But I can see that this has been a trying experience for you. I nodded, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle in my shoulders. It's been overwhelming. I'm relieved that Evelyn and Margaret are facing consequences for their actions, but the personal toll has been significant. The trust I had in so many people has been shattered. Father Collins leaned back in his chair, looking thoughtful. The journey for justice is never easy, especially when it involves those closest to you. You've shown great courage and resilience. Thank you, I said, my voice tinged with gratitude. I couldn't have done this without your support. But now, it feels like everything is in pieces. Clara and I, we have a lot to work through. Father Collins nodded sympathetically. Healing takes time. Remember that while justice can bring closure, it cannot erase the pain. Focus on rebuilding your life and relationships. I sighed and ran a hand through my hair. I hope Clara and I can find our way back. She's been through so much, and I don't want to lose her. Just then, Clara walked into the office. Her face was pale, but there was a determined look in her eyes. She had been struggling with the fallout from her own involvement in the conspiracy, and it was clear that this had taken a toll on her. "James," Clara said softly, her voice trembling slightly. "Can we talk?" "Of course," I replied, standing up to meet her. Father Collins gave us a reassuring nod and excused himself to give us privacy. Clara and I sat down, the weight of our recent struggles hanging heavily between us. "I wanted to thank you," she said, her eyes welling with tears, "for standing by me, even when things were at their worst." I reached out and took her hand. "We've both made mistakes, Clara, but I believe in us and in our ability to move forward. It's going to take time, but I'm committed to working through this with you." Clara nodded, her expression a mixture of sadness and hope. "I've been thinking a lot about what we've been through. I want to make things right, not just with the company, but with us. I'm ready to start fresh, but I know it won't be easy." "I'm willing to put in the effort," I said, squeezing her hand gently. "We both have a lot to heal from. Let's take it one step at a time." As Clara and I worked on mending our relationship, Father Collins' advice echoed in my mind. The journey of seeking justice had left scars, but it also brought unexpected lessons about resilience, forgiveness, and the importance of rebuilding trust. In the weeks that followed, Clara and I attended counseling sessions together, and slowly but surely we began to rebuild our lives. The company was in the process of recovering from the scandal, and with the right measures in place, it was beginning to regain its stability. One evening, as Clara and I walked through a park near our home, the setting sun cast a warm glow over us. The tranquility of the surroundings felt like a balm for our troubled souls. "You know," Clara said softly, "despite everything that's happened, I feel like we've come out stronger. Maybe it's because we faced it all together." I smiled, feeling a sense of peace. "I think you're right. We've been through so much, but we're still here. And that's something worth holding on to." As we continued our walk, hand in hand, the world seemed a little brighter. The scars of the past were still there, but they were starting to fade, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and determination. Father Collins' words had resonated deeply, reminding me that while the pursuit of justice was a difficult path, it had also paved the way for healing and growth. The months following the fallout from Evelyn and Margaret's arrest were a period of significant transformation for Clara and me. We were determined to rebuild our lives, and it was clear that we had a long road ahead of us. Our focus shifted to mending relationships, regaining trust, and creating a new sense of normalcy. The company's revival, the company, once marred by scandal, was slowly making a comeback. New leadership was put in place, and a thorough overhaul of financial practices was underway. My role was critical in ensuring that the transition went smoothly, and though it was challenging, I found a sense of purpose in guiding the company towards a fresh start. One morning, I sat in my office, going over the latest reports, when Jane, the new head of operations, walked in. Her demeanor was upbeat, a stark contrast to the tense atmosphere that had once pervaded the office. "Good morning, James," Jane said cheerfully. "I just wanted to update you on the progress. We've implemented the new compliance measures, and I've started rebuilding relationships with our key clients." "Morning, Jane," I replied, looking up from my paperwork. "I appreciate all the hard work. It's good to see things moving in the right direction. How are the employees adjusting to the changes?" "Surprisingly well," Jane said, smiling. "There's a lot of enthusiasm for the new direction. It feels like we're turning a corner." "That's great to hear," I said, feeling a spark of hope. "Let's keep pushing forward. We need to ensure that we regain the trust of our clients and our team." Relationship repairs on the personal front. Clara and I continued to attend counseling sessions. The process was arduous, but we were both committed to healing and rediscovering the foundation of our relationship. Our therapist, Dr. Matthews, was instrumental in guiding us through this journey. During one of our sessions, Clara and I sat across from Dr. Matthews, who looked at us with a warm, understanding gaze. "James, Clara," Dr. Matthews began, "it's clear that both of you are putting in significant effort to rebuild your relationship. What specific steps have you taken to reconnect? Clara took a deep breath before speaking. We've been spending more quality time together, focusing on our communication. We're also working on being more open about our feelings. Dr. Matthews nodded approvingly. That's a positive approach. Remember, rebuilding trust is a gradual process. It's important to celebrate the small victories and remain patient with each other. I glanced at Clara, seeing the determination in her eyes. We've also been working on setting new goals for our future. It helps us stay focused and optimistic. That's a great strategy, Dr. Matthews said. Creating shared goals can strengthen your bond and provide a sense of direction. New beginnings. One of the most significant changes was the decision to move to a new house. The old home, filled with memories of betrayal and pain, no longer felt like a sanctuary. Finding a new place became a symbol of our fresh start. As we walked through the front door of our new home, Clara and I looked around with a mix of excitement and nervousness. The house was a blank slate, ready for us to make it our own. "This place is amazing," Clara said, her eyes lighting up. "It feels like a new beginning." "I agree," I said, smiling. "It's a fresh start for us. Let's make this house a home filled with new memories." We spent the next few weeks decorating and settling in, transforming the house into a space that reflected our renewed hope and commitment to each other. Every room we worked on symbolized a step toward healing and rebuilding our lives. Looking forward one evening, as we sat on the porch enjoying the sunset, Clara turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "James, I've been reflecting on everything we've been through. It's been a tough journey, but I'm grateful for the lessons we've learned." I nodded, feeling a sense of contentment. "I feel the same way. The road to recovery has been challenging, but it's brought us closer together. I'm hopeful for what lies ahead." Clara reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. "We've come a long way, and I believe in our ability to continue moving forward together." As we watched the sun dip below the horizon, we felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey of rebuilding and healing was far from over, but the strides we had made gave us hope for a brighter future. Our experiences had tested us, but they also forged a stronger bond, one built on resilience, trust, and a shared commitment to making things right. The road ahead was still uncertain, but we faced it with a renewed sense of optimism, ready to embrace the future with open hearts and minds. The first few months in our new home had been a whirlwind of activity and adjustment. The house, once a mere collection of rooms, was beginning to feel like a true home. As we continued to settle in, Clara and I were determined to embrace this fresh start and make the most of the new chapter in our lives. A fresh start at work. At the office, I was excited to introduce new initiatives aimed at restoring the company's reputation and setting a positive trajectory. The recent changes had invigorated the team, and there was a renewed sense of enthusiasm. Jane had been instrumental in leading the charge, and I appreciated her commitment to our shared vision. One morning, Jane and I met in my office to discuss the upcoming company retreat, an event designed to strengthen team dynamics and set goals for the future. "James, I think the retreat will be a great opportunity for everyone to reconnect and build a stronger team spirit," Jane said, presenting the detailed plan she'd been working on. "I agree," I replied, studying the plan. "It's crucial for us to foster a sense of unity and direction." "What's the focus of the retreat?" "We'll have workshops on teamwork and communication," Jane explained. "There will also be sessions on personal development and goal setting. I think it will be a positive step forward for everyone." "Sounds excellent," I said, nodding. "Let's move forward with it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it impacts the team." Jane smiled, clearly relieved and excited. "Me too. I think it's exactly what we need." Reconnecting with friends, with our professional lives gaining stability, Clara and I began to reconnect with old friends. We invited a few close friends over for dinner, hoping to rekindle relationships that had been strained during the tumultuous period. As the evening unfolded, our friends Sarah and Mike arrived, bringing warmth and laughter to our home. Over dinner, we shared stories and updates, and the atmosphere was light and comforting. "It's so good to see you both," Sarah said, looking around the table with a smile. "We've missed you." "We've missed you too," Clara replied, her eyes sparkling. "It feels wonderful to have you here." Mike leaned in, his tone teasing. "So, what's new with you two? Any exciting projects or plans?" Clara and I exchanged a glance, and I spoke up. "We've been working on a few things. Clara's been pursuing some new interests, and I'm focusing on revitalizing the company." "That sounds fantastic," Sarah said. "It's great to see you both moving forward. I'm really happy for you." The conversation flowed easily, and as the evening progressed, I felt a renewed sense of connection with our friends. It was a reminder of the importance of maintaining relationships and seeking support during challenging times. Embracing new opportunities with the company on a more stable footing, I began exploring new opportunities that had long been on my mind. One such opportunity was a mentoring program for young entrepreneurs, something I had always been passionate about. I wanted to give back and share my experiences with others who were just starting their journeys. During a meeting with Father Collins, who had become a close advisor and friend, I shared my plans. "Father Collins, I've been thinking about starting a mentoring program for young entrepreneurs," I said. "I believe it's a way for me to contribute and help others avoid some of the pitfalls I faced." Father Collins looked thoughtful. "That's a wonderful idea, James. Sharing your knowledge and experience can make a significant difference in others' lives. Have you considered how you want to structure the program?" "I'm still working on the details," I admitted, "but I envision it as a series of workshops and one-on-one sessions. I want to provide practical advice and support." "I'm sure it will be a valuable resource," Father Collins said with a reassuring smile. "Your journey has been full of lessons, and there's much you can offer to those who are just starting out." With Father Collins' encouragement, I felt more confident in moving forward with the program. It was a way for me to channel my experiences into something positive and impactful. Family bonds strengthened amidst all these changes. Clara and I continued to focus on our relationship. We made a conscious effort to spend quality time together, rediscovering the joy in each other's company. One evening, as we were curled up on the couch watching a movie, Clara turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "James," she said softly, "I've been reflecting on everything we've been through. I feel like we're stronger now, like we've come out on the other side of a storm." I smiled, taking her hand in mine. "I feel the same way. We've faced so many challenges, but we've grown through them. I'm grateful for where we are now and excited about what the future holds." Clara squeezed my hand gently. "Me too. Let's keep building on this foundation and continue to support each other. I believe we're on the right path." As the movie continued to play in the background, I looked around our new home with a sense of contentment. The journey to get here had been difficult, but the fresh start we were now embracing was filled with hope, opportunity, and the promise of new beginnings. Our lives were still evolving, but with each passing day, we were creating a new chapter filled with potential and positivity. The future was bright, and we were ready to face it together, stronger than ever before.